Do you like being normal?
Being different isn't normal. Expressing emotions isn't normal. Smiling is normal. Everyone else is normal. You can't be different. You can never stop smiling. It's okay to be boring. It's okay to be mundane. It's okay to be normal. It's okay to be normal.
When I say the word normal, what is the first thing that pops into your mind? Do you think of your day-to-day life, going to work, school, or college, pursuing a goal of knowledge? Or do you think of society being stuck in this one big loop? Wake up, go to work, sleep, repeat. Wake up, go to work, sleep, repeat. Wake up, go to work, sleep, repeat. Better yet, do you understand the word's negative connotation? Have you ever done something you love, passionate to talk about it with others, or to share it with others, but then be called a freak, be dehumanized, or cast away to being different? I think this quote paints the whole picture of every emotion that is felt with the word. Normality is a paved road. It's comfortable to walk on, but no flowers grow on. By Vince Van Gogh. It's a little ironic that the quote is tied to him. Though I tried to look up evidence and sources, nothing popped up. Even if he didn't write this quote or not, it fits him perfectly. A man who wanted to change the world's eyes with his painting, and yet the world didn't look back. And that also describes the SpongeBob episode, Not Normal. Come along with me as we pick apart an episode with layers that are so thin, the jokes hit too close to home. But before we go in, make sure you subscribe, like the video, comment, and all that jazz. The episode starts with a night to day transition. This is very important actually, and I didn't even notice it in the beginning. But after it turns to day, SpongeBob wakes up doing what he does best, having a good time, smiling and making some noise. Squidward, dog ass, gets upset because SpongeBob is making noise. Squidward marches outside to SpongeBob, and this sums it up perfectly.
What could you possibly be trying to do this time?
I'm just having a decent morning.
To Squidward, what he's doing is meaningless and it causes a commotion. To SpongeBob, he's having a decent morning. I don't know exactly what time of day it is or if it's appropriate to be up, but SpongeBob isn't doing this at night. He woke up and started his morning off with whatever he's doing. But Squidward, off the stove hot, doesn't even recognize that it's daytime outside. But to play devil's advocate, let's just say it's twilight before morning, and he needs sleep badly. What he's about to say next doesn't justify or even explain his reaction.
There are two kinds of people. There are people that are normal, and then there's you.
I don't even have to explain to you how fucked up that whole scene was, but I need to so that we're all on the same page. Let's break down the first part. There are two kinds of people. This states that there are categories of people and you fall into only two. This is really bad because this is where segregation starts to happen. And I'm not talking about the racial version, I'm talking about in general. No matter what you do, it's either the two given options. And if you know anything about human beings, we aren't that concrete. Nothing is black and white or binary. Far from it. When we are trying to decide on something or come to a conclusion, it gets closer to gray, mixing in both parties. The line is very polarizing and it fuels more generalization and segregation, like I said. Moving on to the second line, there are people that are normal. This is where it starts to become messy, because what do we do when we base off of being normal? We base it off of generalization of what the public thinks. Take for instance D&D, Dungeons & Dragons. Everyone back then thought it was a satanic game where only devil worshippers would play it. Same thing with Pokemon, GTA, and anything that wasn't seen as normal. But nowadays, we see people playing Pokemon for money, D&D for fun, and GTA for laughs. It's comfortable walking on the same road as everyone else. Monkey see, monkey do. Not having an understanding of what you don't deem as normal, you're most likely going to be a follower. And going back to the episode, it's funny how they use a real life fish tank as a gag with a sparkle sound effect. It's almost as if Squidward sees everything like the fish in the fish tank. Plain, boring fish, nothing special, and being the perfect model for everyone. But SpongeBob sees the cartoonish world for bringing bright colors and happiness. He chooses to make the best out of each day. It's also very hypocritical for him to be mad at SpongeBob when he plays a loud ass clarinet, which he has no skill or talent for, but still SpongeBob still hype his bum ass up anyways, because he's a good neighbor. And who sleeps during the day? Unless you work night shifts, he didn't, then he's the one who's being not normal. But I digress. This section is getting a little too long, so let's wrap it up with the last part. And then there is you. This is the greatest offender of them all. The last straw that broke the camel's back for me. This is why I wanted to make this video, because not only does this make SpongeBob question his personality, but makes me think about how people around me in real life treat my personality. SpongeBob was enjoying himself, maybe not in the same way as Squidward or even Patrick, but he was just existing, having a bright personality. And yet he is punished for being different, for not waking up like Squidward. SpongeBob doesn't fit what Squidward sees as normal. We'll talk about this more later, and even go further deeper past the word normal. But I think you understand the whole scene, what made me so interested in the first place. Back to the episode. After Squidward is done yelling at SpongeBob and leaves him to ponder how to become normal, even SpongeBob goes back to Squidward to ask advice, but with no luck getting kicked out. So the only thing that he has left to do or to use is he turns to social media. Well, it's a video about being normal, but it's just the same as social media. Replace it with anyone telling you how to become a high-value man, or a doomer subreddit perpetuating the idea that we're forever alone, or just anyone trying to sell you a life based on lies. It's the same type of trap that people fall into when they are lost. The video even panders to SpongeBob by saying everything exactly what happened to him today.
You tired of being called a freak? Do people throw you out of their homes?
Yes, yes, and yes.
And I know this one is a joke, but it's honestly really similar to how doomer videos and high value videos go about getting people into this mindset. They say something that is very common in everyone's life, like maybe not finding that right person yet, or dealing with personal life issues, or just appealing to what they want to hear. Then that's how they get you to buy into whatever they're selling. It's like they're talking to you individually, but really they're talking to your wallet or your insecurities. And the next part that we're about to go into is honestly one of the creepiest things I've seen in SpongeBob history, and it might even topple over my other videos. Thank you guys for watching this SpongeBob video up to this point. I have some exciting news that you might want to hear. I'm doing a Steam game giveaway, a game that's either $10 to $20 worth, and you can get to choose. The only way to enter is to comment down below, timestamp of what's your favorite part, like, and subscribe. That's all I ask. And I also have a Discord, but at the same time, you're not required to join it. But I would really love if I could get some more people into my Discord. That's it. Thank you for watching, and let's get into the video. We get a scene right out of The Truman Show, where all the houses are the same. It's kind of ironic that I mentioned The Truman Show, because if you think about it, that show portrayed everything being normal, when really it's not. Just the same thing as this tutorial video. But we meet the character of this video, describing everything about him and how normal he is, saying that his hair is boring and that
Notice his features, nice and smooth, without a crater or freckle to be seen.
And sad to say that this is even a joke, but this relates to how beauty standards are made nowadays. He literally just said freckles aren't normal. Freckles are normal, but back then, freckles used to be demonized and a sign of ugliness and ill health. And as SpongeBob hears this, he touches his own face, becoming distraught and sad. So it's having an effect on him already. Then we move on to his workspace, and we see his name tag, Mr. Normal, and every fish around him looks the same. It's like some form of dystopia where you're forced to smile and you're working constantly. No hobbies, no passion. The next thing they describe is his workflow, saying,
works at a steady and monotonous pace, just as all the other normals do.
This is more than just hell. It's reality for some people. I don't know if he was forced to be here or forced to be normal, but it's sad seeing this because there aren't any flowers to see. Isn't that funny? The quote I said relates to this picture. Everyone's walking on the same path, but there's no flowers grown. No emotion, no love, no passion, just normalcy. It gives me a vibe of Squidville, but 10 times worse. Even in Squidville, they had dancing, they had music, but here, they have nothing. Even the way they speak to each other is normal.
Hi, how are you?
And after everything is said and done, the cycle repeats itself. After imprinting onto SpongeBob, the next day he's a totally different person. No laughing after making a Krabby Patty, no love to be put into them, just cold hard typing from a computer to generate them. At first, Squidward is skeptical of him, even a little puzzled, but the next day he changes his tone. Mr. Krabs sees no problem at first too, but his tone will change as well. We see Squidward riding back from work, asking himself, what happened to SpongeBob? It's crazy how this fool just asked what happened when he literally attacked his whole personality without thought. And interrupting that thought, he sees a new house instead of the pineapple that used to be there. Then, right on cue, SpongeBob walks into his new home. After slapping himself silly and confirming that this wasn't a dream, he walks into work all giddy the next day, ready to see the normal version of SpongeBob. And this goes on for a week until things are noticeably different. Squidward wants to invite over the new SpongeBob because he's reformed. He's not like the other sponges.
What do you mean by that?
And while they have this conversation, a customer is realizing that his food is ish and not worth eating, and a bunch of customers start leaving. Mr. Krabs can smell the loss of profit, and he goes to confront SpongeBob. Mr. Krabs has a heart-to-heart with him, telling him that it's not right to make Krabby Patties out of ink and paper, literally and figuratively. He needs to use his heart and not to act so dull. But SpongeBob still doesn't see it just yet and says, what you call dull, I call normal. And this line pisses me off so much, just as much as Mr. Krabs, because if old SpongeBob saw this, he would agree with Mr. Krabs. And it's really funny because it relates to us, the viewer, so much, because we lose ourselves during periods of our lives when trying to acclimate to new situations or just growing up. Even though this is Squidward's fault, some blame does go to the person who put forth the effort, which hence why I'm a little bit mad at SpongeBob himself losing something that he loves dear to him, because you can put yourself in those shoes so quickly. And not only does he lose his job, but next up, his friend. Patrick asks SpongeBob if he would like to go jellyfishing, but SpongeBob wants to go window shopping. I can't tell if he meant actually window shopping or just the metaphor, but I fucking hate that he's so boring to Patrick. It just shuts him down on every little thing that he used to do together. And Patrick had enough, saying the same thing as Mr. Krabs. Come back to me when you aren't emotionless, without fun or love. The last thing that he does is visit Squidward from the invite. They sit down and have tea while talking about how Squidward isn't outside enjoying the normal weather. He says it's dusting day, and he's dusting off 483 self-portraits he created. Can I just ask, how much of an ego inflation do you have to have in order to paint that many self-portraits and not crash into a pit of ego death? I'm only saying this because he considers waking up in the morning and frolicking around to not be normal. Even SpongeBob comments on how weird it is. Then the hypocrite himself says it's okay to be different, unless it's him. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But don't worry, he gets a taste of his own medicine when SpongeBob starts to comment on his features, like his nose, face, eyes, everything. The last thing that sends SpongeBob flying out the door is the comment on Squidward's pants, that he isn't wearing any, and he gets kicked out. Don't worry though, the seed of doubt was planted into his brain now, looking into the mirror, sighing. But with that, SpongeBob is now by himself, with nobody. He lost his job, his friend, and Squidward, even though that wasn't a loss, but he comes to the conclusion that he needs to be himself again. So he tries to do some weird thing and it doesn't work out as his eyes pop out. I just want to point this out that this was really scary to me as a kid, and it still scares me to this day. I don't know why they made his eyes pop out, but okay. He goes and seeks help from Patrick. At first, Patrick doesn't believe he wants it, but after saying he wants to be himself again, he believes him. And they do a bunch of crazy stuff in public that people wouldn't call normal. After going through a montage and a lady calling them an undesirable and a freak, he does a transformation scene, but it doesn't work, stuck having a normal personality. Until normal Squidward comes to greet them, and it scares SpongeBob back to himself, ending the episode. Before moving on, I like the little message at the ending of the episode because it shows that he looked in the mirror, in a mirror of where Squidward was normal and he didn't want to be like that. He wanted to be himself and not to conform to whatever society forces to be normal. I could leave this video how it is and just put the lesson, don't change who you are, but that's too simple for me. I want to discuss and talk about certain ways this can be related to real life. I briefly touched on the subject on how people fall into this spirit of negativity and self-loathing when trying to seek out being normal in the masses. Social media is a breeding ground for anyone's ideas to be grabbed on and held to, without a thought or care behind it. For example, take anyone who's 20 or above and enjoys stuff like My Little Pony, Disney Adult, Bluey, or anything that's related to cartoons. It was very regular to shun those who continue to indulge things as childish like cartoons. The public sees adults wasting time, but the people who are watching the cartoons gain a value that no one else will see, a lesson that can be taught only through art. This also extends to a bunch of different places, like games, Roblox and Minecraft, or Legos and coloring books. The public sees doing taxes, watching football, going to the bar, or going to work as normal. If you step out of line, you will be pointed at. Furries, cosplayers, role players, I could go on and on. Even people who are trans, gay, and non-binary are demonized by the public for wanting to be their true selves. Really, it goes deeper than the word normal. It's perspective. Perspective is the reason for everything. How you view things change how you feel. If it's cringe, normal, weird, or different. Your weird could be my normal, and my normal could be your different. That's why we should never change on a dime and don't judge others in an instant. I get it. People have done stuff that is cringy, and maybe it's not cringy to me, or maybe it's not cringy to you, or it might be cringy to someone, but maybe they do a little dance, roleplay as an anime character, or watch Skibbity Toilet. But that doesn't mean we should bring back bullying or go to the far extent of shunning them out of society. That's why Squidward has become so prevalent, or once you disconnect from trying to understand others, you lose being human. You lose yourself.